Hi, welcome to Max in Minutes from Focal Press and 3dforgames.com. In this video I will show you how to build a simple model and how to apply texture maps to it. We will learn about multi-sub object materials and we will cover some simple UV mapping and also the basics of UVW Unwrap. Okay, let's get started. First of all, we need to build a box. If you're going through this set of videos in order, you'll already be familiar with this, but if you're not, go to Create, Standard Primitives, Box, and set the dimensions to 45, 45, 50. In the parameters rollout, if you type 45 in the length and use the tab key, you will jump to the width, enter 45 again, and tab key again, and type 50 and hit return and you're done. If your box is displayed in Wireframe in any of the viewports, just right click in the viewport and use the F key to toggle the shading on or off. This brings us to the end of the modelling for this project. Feel free to save your work at this point by going to File, Save As, and then create a folder for your work and save it in an appropriate name. Something like box will do fine. Next we need to apply the texture maps to our newly created box. From the modifier sets, choose Edit Mesh. To do this, go up to Modify and then click the Edit Mesh button. If you've not set these buttons up from Chapter 2 in this series, in the Modifying Basic Objects tutorial, go to the Modifier List Rollout and then select Edit Mesh from the list. Then go to Polygon in Selection or just hit the 4 key on the keyboard. All of this is explained in a bit more detail in Chapter 2, Modifying Basic Objects. Next, use Ctrl and A to select all of the polygons, and right clicking in any of the viewports using the F2 key will toggle the highlighted selection. Next, click the UVW map button or select it from the modifier list if you haven't configured them yet, and choose Box from the mapping parameters list. Then just right click on UVW mapping in the stack and select Collapse All from the pop-up list. Click Yes when the warning window pops up. The warning is telling us that we will lose all of the history in the modifier stack. That's okay, as we'll have no need to go back to any of this at this point. Now that we have our box modelled and now mapped, we can get on with assigning the texture maps. You may like to save your project at this point too. I always use incremental saving in case something happens to the file or I write over it by accident. That way you won't lose all of your work. Just click on File, Save As, and click the plus button to add an incremental save. This will save your box as box01.max. If I do this again, it will be box02, and so on. I have also got Auto Back set up. Please refer to Chapter 1 in this series, Introduction to 3ds Max and Create, for the tutorial of how to set this up. Okay, with the box still selected, click the Material Editor button from the main toolbar or use the keyboard shortcut M. The Material Editor should pop open. To keep this tutorial as straightforward as possible, I have prepared the texture maps for you. You will learn how to do this for yourself in Chapter 4, Creating Texture Maps from Photographs. First of all, we need to convert our standard material to a multi-sub object material. A multi-sub object material lets you assign different materials at the sub-object level of your geometry, meaning you can assign different texture maps to different polygons on the same model. To change the standard material to a multi-sub object material, just left click on the standard material button and choose multi-sub object and click OK. You are asked if you want to discard the old material. In this case I will choose to, but as we haven't done any material work yet, it doesn't matter either way. To add the texture maps into the material editor, select the material ID from the vertical list and load in the texture map for each side of the box. Although there are 10 material slots in the list, we will just be using the first 6. If you only want to see 6 displayed, just click the Set Number button in the Multi-Sub-Object Basic Parameters window, change the number to 6 and click OK. You may notice that your submaterial names are different to mine. Don't worry about this, we can rename them later on. Click on the first material in the list next to ID 1 and assign a bitmap material to it. To do this, click on the small square button to the right of Diffuse in Blend Basic Parameters. Select Bitmap from the top of the pop-up menu and click OK. This will open up the Select Bitmap Image File window. Now just click box1_top.jpg from the project files folder, which came with this tutorial. Finally, click the Show Standard Map in Viewport button. This is very important as it will enable you to see the texture map in the viewport once you assign this multi-sub-object to your model. Next, we need to load up the other texture maps to the other 5 ID slots. To do this, click the Go to Parent button twice, which should take us back to the multi-sub-object basic parameters window. Then click the second sub-object material in the list, which is ID 2, and click the square button next to Diffuse again. Click on the Bitmap button in Bitmap Parameters and load the texture map box1_sid1.jpg by double-clicking it from the list. Click the Show Standard Map in Viewport button and click the Go to Parent button twice, which should take us back to the multi-sub-object basic parameters window once again. Do the same for ID 3, loading up the texture map box1_sid2.jpg. Then the same for ID 4, loading up the texture map box1_sid3.jpg. Then the same for ID 5, loading up the texture map box1_sid4.jpg. And finally the same for ID 6, loading up the texture map box1_base.jpg. Remember to click the Show Standard Map in Viewport button each time so our texture maps will be visible. Now that we have assigned all the texture maps to the materials, we will apply the material set to the box and apply the material IDs to the polygons of the box, allowing us to see the texture maps. With the box still selected as an editable mesh, click the Assign Material to Selection button to apply our multi-sub-object material to our object. You should see the box model change colour and maybe see some of the texture maps on some of the polygons. Now, to get the texture maps to work properly, we will need to make sure that all the correct material IDs are assigned to the correct polygon IDs, and that the texture map is mapped onto the box the correct way round. This is very important for this model as some of the packaging tape and other details wrap around the box model, so we'll have to get them lined up properly. To get the first correct texture map on the box, select the polygon on top of the box model in the perspective viewport, then scroll down to Surface Properties and ensure that the material ID is set to 1. Then select the polygon on the left hand side and set the material ID to 3 if it isn't already. For the polygon on the right hand side, set the material ID to 4 if it isn't already. Then using Orbit, rotate around the box until you can fully see the 2 polygons that we haven't set the IDs up for yet. The one which is now on the left needs to be set to ID 2, and the polygon now on the right needs to be set to ID 5. Finally, using Orbit again to show the base of the box, set this to ID 6. Next, we need to check that all the maps are the right way up, so have a quick orbit around to make sure that they are. In this case they are. Next, we'll look at the bottom of the box, as the packaging tape clearly wraps around from underneath, so we just need to make sure that it's lined up correctly. In this case it isn't, so we'll need to adjust the mapping using Unwrap UVW. Select the polygon which makes up the base of the box and click the Unwrap UVW button from the panel or from the Modifier list. Then click the Edit button and the Edit UVs window should pop open. Select the box1_base JPEG from the Rollout list so that we can see the base texture in the window. There are a few settings that you can change here to help you see a little clearer. From Options, Preferences, you can uncheck Show Grid. You can also uncheck Tile Bitmap, and you can set the tile brightness to 1 and click OK. If you made any changes in here, be sure to go to Options and ensure that you select Save Current Settings to Default, otherwise they won't be saved. Next, have a look around your box and identify which parts of the texture detail wrap around the box. Here you can clearly see that the packaging tape does, and that there is a tear mark which appears to go from the bottom and up one side of the box. To line these up, we'll need to adjust the UVs. Click on the Edit UVWs window and use Ctrl A to select all of the vertices. Then press the S key to turn on Angle Snap and select Rotate from the top menu. Then just rotate the UVs until both the packaging tape and the tail line up the sides of the box line up. You can now close the Edit UVW window. Have a look around your box to make sure everything lines up. If it doesn't, repeat this process to adjust any of the other UVs. Finally, you can collapse the stack again and save your work. This brings us to the end of our Applying Texture Maps tutorial. This tutorial should have given you the ability to apply texture maps to a model and adjust the UVs. Have a look at the other videos in the range to improve your modelling and understanding of 3ds Max. Next in the series is a guide to creating texture maps from photographs using Adobe Photoshop. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in that guide. For support with this video and any others in the range, log on to www.3d4games.com/forum and your questions will be answered once you've logged in. Good luck and goodbye.